Right, let's do this. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today we're tackling a topic that's a bit of a downer, frankly. We're talking about countries experiencing a full-on economic meltdown. And look, I get it, economics, it's not exactly the sexiest subject. It's basically the broccoli of the academic world. Everyone knows it's good for you, but nobody wants to sit through a 3-hour lecture on it, let alone experience it firsthand. But the thing is, when an economy goes belly up, it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet that suffer, it's people. Real people with lives, families, and dreams that get put on hold, sometimes indefinitely. So, over the next few chapters, we're going to take a deep dive into some of the countries facing the most severe economic downturns and examine just how they got there. Buckle up, folks, it's going to be a bumpy ride. First up, we're heading down to South America to talk about a country that was once a beacon of prosperity in the region, Venezuela. You see, Venezuela has more oil reserves than any other country on Earth. We're talking more than Saudi Arabia, more than Canada, more than that time I tried to make a deep-fried Twinkie. It's a lot of oil. And for a while there, it was great. Venezuela was raking in cash, its people were enjoying a high standard of living, and the future was looking brighter than Nicolas Maduro's wardrobe after a shopping spree. But then, as with all stories involving seemingly endless supplies of oil, things took a turn. And by turn, I mean a nosedive straight into a dumpster fire of hyperinflation, corruption, and economic mismanagement. Now, I'm not an economist, but even I can tell you that when you print money faster than you can say socialist utopia, you're going to have a bad time. And that's exactly what happened in Venezuela. The government, in an attempt to combat its economic woes, decided to just print more money. The result? The Venezuelan bolivar became about as valuable as a screen door on a submarine. Inflation skyrocketed, prices for basic goods went through the roof, and suddenly, people who were once comfortably middle class found themselves struggling to afford even a loaf of bread. And to make matters worse, the government, led by the ever-so-competent Nicolas Maduro, decided to address the shortages not by, fixing the economy, but by imposing price controls and seizing private businesses. Because as we all know, nothing inspires confidence in an economy like the government taking over everything. Now, as entertaining as it is to watch politicians make terrible economic decisions from the comfort of our own homes, it's important to remember that this crisis has had a devastating impact on the Venezuelan people. We're talking about widespread food shortages, a collapsing healthcare system, and millions of people fleeing the country in search of a better life. Imagine for a second having to leave everything you know and love behind because your own country has essentially become uninhabitable. It's a heartbreaking reality for millions of Venezuelans, and it's a stark reminder of just how quickly economic stability can crumble. But hey, at least they have plenty of oil, right? Oh, wait. All right, let's move on to our next economic train wreck, shall we? This time, we're heading to Africa, to a country that was once known as the breadbasket of Africa, Zimbabwe. Yes, you heard that right. Zimbabwe, a country currently synonymous with hyperinflation and economic turmoil, was once a major agricultural powerhouse, exporting food to the rest of the continent and beyond. They had it all: fertile land, a favorable climate, and enough wildlife to make even Steve Irwin jealous. But then, as with all good things in life, it all went to hell in a handbasket. And who better to blame for this economic downfall than Robert Mugabe, Zimbabwe's former president, and a man who, despite his advanced age, seemed determined to single-handedly run his country into the ground? Now, I'm not saying that Robert Mugabe was solely responsible for Zimbabwe's economic woes, but let's just say he played a starring role in this tragedy. You see, Mugabe had this brilliant idea to seize land from white farmers and redistribute it to black Zimbabweans. Now, on the surface, this might sound like a noble goal, righting the wrongs of colonialism and all that. But the problem was, Mugabe went about it with all the subtlety and grace of a bull in a china shop. Farms were seized without compensation, experienced white farmers were replaced with often inexperienced black farmers, and agricultural production plummeted faster than a hippopotamus in a swimming competition. And as the economy tanked and hyperinflation set in, Mugabe's solution was to, you guessed it, print more money. Because if there's one thing we've learned from Venezuela, it's that printing money solves everything. So after decades of Mugabe's leadership, Zimbabwe went from being a thriving agricultural exporter to an economic basket case. We're talking hyperinflation so bad that at one point, the country had to issue a $100 trillion note. I mean, that's more money than I make in a year. Okay, maybe not, but it's still a ridiculously large amount of money. And while Mugabe was finally ousted from power in 2017, his legacy of economic mismanagement and corruption continues to haunt Zimbabwe to this day. The country is still struggling with high unemployment, poverty, and a lack of basic services. But hey, at least they got rid of those pesky white farmers, right? Because that's what really matters in the end. All right, let's talk Lebanon. This tiny Middle Eastern nation, known for its stunning coastline and delicious food, has, unfortunately, also become synonymous with economic turmoil. Now, Lebanon's troubles didn't just appear overnight. They've been simmering for decades, like a pot of kibbeh left unattended on a stove. You see, Lebanon's economy has long been plagued by corruption, cronyism, and a heavy reliance on imports. It's like a friend who constantly borrows money but never seems to have a job. We've all been there, right? Lending a tenner here, a 20 there. Except in Lebanon's case, we're talking billions of dollars. This over-reliance on imports has made Lebanon incredibly vulnerable to external shocks like, say, a global pandemic or a massive explosion in its main port. And oh boy, did they get both in quick succession. It's like the universe looked at Lebanon's economic Jenga tower and said, "Hold my beer." Now, when an economy collapses, it's not the politicians or the wealthy who feel the brunt of it, is it? It's the everyday people, the ones who are already struggling to make ends meet. In Lebanon, this has meant families skipping meals, struggling to afford medication, and even resorting to selling their belongings just to survive. Imagine having to choose between putting food on the table or sending your child to school. That's the reality for countless families in Lebanon right now. It's a heartbreaking situation that's been exacerbated by a government that seems more interested in pointing fingers than actually fixing the problem. It's like watching a group of incompetent firefighters standing around a burning building, arguing about who forgot to turn on the hose. Meanwhile, the people inside are, well, you get the picture. Not great. And the worst part? There's no end in sight. The World Bank has described Lebanon's economic crisis as one of the worst the world has seen in over 150 years. Now, I don't want to paint an entirely bleak picture here. Despite the challenges, the Lebanese people are incredibly resilient. They've been through civil wars, political assassinations, and more explosions than a Michael Bay film festival. Yet they continue to show incredible strength and determination. There are also glimmers of hope emerging from the ashes. Grassroots organizations and volunteers have stepped up to provide essential services and support to those in need. It's a testament to the human spirit, really. Even in the darkest of times, people come together to help each other. However, while these efforts are commendable, they're simply not enough to address the systemic issues plaguing Lebanon. What the country desperately needs is comprehensive economic reform, an end to corruption, and a government that actually prioritizes the needs of its people. Will they get it? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or, considering the state of the Lebanese pound, maybe the billion-dollar question. The situation is dire, but as we've seen time and time again, never underestimate the power of the people to create change. Sudan, a nation that's seen more turmoil than a mosh pit at a Nickelback concert, finally broke free from Omar al-Bashir's iron grip in 2019. You'd think after 30 years of dictatorship, things would be looking up, right? Like finding an unexpected $20 in your pocket. But instead of fleeting joy, you get crippling disappointment. Because despite the dictator being shown the door, the party favors for the average Sudanese citizen have been about as abundant as common sense at a flat earth convention. The economy is still stuck in a ditch, and frankly, it's gotten deeper. We're talking Mariana Trench levels of deep. See this graph? It's about as encouraging as a prostate exam. The economy's in free fall, inflation's doing its best impression of a rocket launch and basic goods. They're about as affordable as a weekend getaway to the International Space Station. And if you think that's bad, buckle up, because we're diving into the cesspool of corruption. Remember all those promises of a brighter future? They seem to have gotten lost in the same black hole as Sudan's oil money. Now let's talk about corruption. Imagine a buffet, but instead of food, it's overflowing with public funds. And instead of hungry families, it's shadowy elites with bottomless pockets helping themselves. It's enough to make you lose your lunch, assuming you can afford lunch. The old regime, they were experts at asset stripping, like a pack of hyenas on a carcass. And the new government, well, let's just say they seem to have inherited the appetite, but not the table manners. Transparency International ranks Sudan at a solid 178 out of 180 on the corruption index. That's like coming in second to last in a turtle race. This rampant corruption isn't just some abstract concept. It's like a boa constrictor slowly squeezing the life out of the Sudanese people. It means less money for schools, for hospitals, for basic infrastructure. It means instead of investing in their future, Sudan is stuck paying off the debts of a corrupt past. And who suffers the most? You guessed it, the people. Stuck trying to scrape by in a system rigged against them. It's like trying to win a game of Monopoly where someone replaced all the properties with pictures of their yachts. Now I know what you're thinking. Dwayne, this is more depressing than a clown at a funeral, and you're not wrong. But amidst all this economic carnage, there is a flicker of light, like a lone firefly in a blackout. The Sudanese people, they haven't given up. They took to the streets to oust a dictator, and they're not afraid to hold the new government accountable. There's a spirit of resilience there, a determination to build a better future. They're like that friend who keeps showing up with a smile even though their life is a dumpster fire. You admire their spirit, but you also want to buy them a drink. Or 10. International organizations are also lending a hand, trying to bandage the wounds inflicted by decades of economic mismanagement. It's a bit like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose, but hey, every drop counts, right? The road ahead for Sudan is long and littered with potholes, some the size of small countries. But with continued pressure for reform, a commitment to tackling corruption, and a little bit of luck, maybe, just maybe, Sudan can turn things around. Haiti, the land of stunning beaches, vibrant culture, and enough economic woes to make even the most optimistic economist reach for the strong stuff. Seriously, this tiny Caribbean nation has been dealt a hand so rough, it would make a poker player weep. You see, Haiti has this unfortunate habit of being the first in line for every disaster imaginable. Earthquakes, hurricanes, political instability, you name it, Haiti's probably experienced it, often all at once. It's like the universe spun a wheel of misfortune and Haiti landed on all of the above. Now, political instability in Haiti is about as surprising as finding a Kardashian on Instagram. It's practically woven into the fabric of the nation. Coups, assassinations, corrupt officials treating the treasury like their personal piggy bank, you name it, they've had it. Imagine a government run by a pack of squirrels hopped up on espresso. That's Haitian politics in a nutshell. Chaotic, unpredictable, and likely to leave you with a headache and a sense of existential dread. This chronic instability makes building a functioning economy about as easy as assembling IKEA furniture blindfolded during an earthquake while riding a unicycle. It scares away foreign investment, disrupts essential services, and leaves the Haitian people trapped in a cycle of poverty and despair. And if that wasn't enough, they've also got gangs running rampant, adding another layer of chaos to this already overflowing parfait of problems. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dwayne, for a guy known for playing a superhero, you're really bumming me out. And you'd be right. But even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of hope. The Haitian people are some of the most resilient folks you'll ever meet. They've been through more than their fair share of hardship, yet they still hold on to hope, to their vibrant culture, to their sense of community. They're like those inflatable punching bags that just keep bouncing back, no matter how hard life kicks them. And while international aid efforts often feel like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, there are organizations doing incredible work on the ground. They're providing essential services, supporting local businesses, and empowering communities to rebuild. The road ahead for Haiti is long and treacherous, like trying to parallel park a school bus in a hurricane. But with the unwavering spirit of its people, and continued support from the international community, maybe, just maybe, Haiti can find its way back to a brighter future. Well, there you have it. 5 countries, each facing their own unique set of challenges, yet united by a common thread of economic hardship. It's a stark reminder that while we often focus on the successes, there are countless stories of struggle and resilience happening every day. These stories are not just statistics on a page, they are real people with families, dreams, and aspirations fighting tooth and nail for a better tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Let us know in the comments which country's situation surprised you the most.